Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn. Today, we'll be chatting with the Athens Photo Project. Before we begin, I want to go over some housekeeping things. This meeting is for informational purposes only, so we want to give everyone a reminder that this is not a meeting to discuss the merits of a provider or any issues. And then as a quick intro, in fiscal year 2022, the Athens Photo Project received a little over $100,000 from our board, and they used that to serve 55 individuals through their art classes, which use photography as a tool for self-expression and personal growth on one's mental health recovery journey. And then I will stop sharing and I will pass it over to Nate to share.
All right. Marissa, can you view the slide? Does that look good? All right. Oh, well, thank you for hosting the Lunch and Learn. I think it's a great idea to do, and we're really happy to share what our community is doing and really kind of provide a basic overview of how we've been integrating the arts and mental health support for the last 23 years. So my name is Nate Thompson. I'm the Executive Director of Athens Photo Project, and I'm joined by
Karen Renee, hello.
And also online with us, Edie. Oh, Edie, your volume's off. Oh, Edie, your volume's still turned off.
Okay, am I there now?
There you are.
Yep.
Now we
Okay, sorry about that. My name's Edie McGee.
Great, thanks. And we've got artwork of yours, Karen, and yours, Edie. So we'll kind of talk about our own journeys through the arts a little bit later. But I wanted to start just with some basic overview for anyone who's not familiar with our organization. So we're a community of artists dedicated to using photography as a tool for self-expression, personal growth, and social change within the journey of mental health recovery. Oops. There we go. I like to emphasize that we are a community. We're a peer-centered organization. We always have been. If you were to look at our program model, it's rather unique in the behavioral health sector. We really look at each individual artist who enters our program as having their own goals, their own interest in getting involved in the arts and integrating the arts as a component of their journey. So the wraparound support that we provide that individual is arts education, arts mentoring, peer support, and community opportunities for exhibiting artwork. I'll speak more about how this fits into the mental health recovery model, but you can see that while these same activities such as arts education may be present in a college atmosphere, kind of the goals that we have for it may be a little bit different. So again, the activity itself may be quite like you would see in a college level art program, studio art class, but our goals, where people are coming from and why they're kind of seeking that activity and that support and where they're going with it could be quite different than the objectives of a college course. So for example, with arts education, we look at that as an individual is building skills. They're building a means of communication. They're building a means of self-expression, and that's really supporting their journey in sharing who they are with the broader community and sharing their artistic and creative gifts with the broader community. Same thing with arts mentoring. While a person at a college may experience arts mentorship, really our goal is integrating that within recovery support. So we're looking at making the arts as accessible as possible to individuals wherever they're at in their journey. So that's where this individual arts mentorship is really important in helping a person reflect on how their art making is supporting personal growth and all the things that may come up on their journey. And with art exhibitions, for example, in community arts, it's quite normal for an artist to exhibit their artwork. So again, for us, it's a very normative activity, but our goal is community integration and looking at the isolation and stigma a person may have faced, and how that same activity that may exist in any community, how we're using it in a very intentional and purposeful way here. And all of this leading to a meaningful, engaged life in the community. For those of you who don't know, our program was founded by Elise Sanford back in 2000. Elise was a board member of NAMI Athens and of NAMI Ohio, and she was an MFA photographer, trained photographer at Ohio University. And she really she began this program out of her own experience as a family member and excuse me, recognizing the barriers that exist within recovery. So for those of you that are kind of working in the behavioral health sector or as board members at the 317 board supporting these endeavors, I think you're going to be very familiar with these barriers, or if those of you who have been kind of engaged in services within Athens-Hocking-Vinton County. Some of these barriers up on the slide may feel very familiar to you or to someone else you know. But Elise was really realizing that these barriers that exist are things that the community could help support with. So, Elise was very familiar with the clinical supports available, but as an artist and as a photographer, she was interested in whether there was some way she could contribute to helping individuals on their journey and really facing and overcoming some of these barriers. So community engagement, stigma, self-worth, isolation, history of trauma. These are just a couple of the things that are themes that Elise was really seen people struggling with coming into the program back in 2000, as well as the last 16 years that I've been here as director. I've seen these as all very true, very real things that people are experiencing on a day-to-day basis. So Elise really presented a novel solution for providing community support, and that's through photography. So she looked at the arts and photography as a way to start exploring and connecting with the world around you, to bring your observation and active imagination to life. The camera, compared to other art media, is quite unique because it does integrate within our daily life. So an individual can explore anything through photography quite easily and quite directly. Over time, the arts and photography allow for skill building, a sense of purpose, accomplishment, and making meaning out of their life experience. So all these things, all these attributes of the arts are going to be quite similar to any arts program, but again, it's looking at how are we making this accessible in recovery? How are we making it supportive? And how are we really kind of building on peer support through these activities? For 23 years, we've been really kind of looking at 30-week classes as our anchor. We've had other workshops and social enterprise programs and other kind of initiatives evolve, but historically, this is a long-term program. We look at recovery as being long-term. So we look at over the period of 2 academic semesters, what can be accomplished when an individual is meeting twice per week in classes. These are 2-hour classes. And they have support of a teaching team, as well as a curriculum, a sequential curriculum. So different than maybe some art programs that are offered within a mental health context that may be short-term. This is really all about long-term skill building, long-term identity formation, long-term relationship building with peers, and where that can go, where we can go with it. We are providing all of the equipment and supplies at no cost in the classes. That's thanks to the 317 board and our other community partners. It's kind of reemphasizes some of the aspects of photography that you may or may not, and the arts that you may or may not be aware of. But community arts is all about making the arts accessible, collaborative, valuing skill building, and that it's growth oriented. So this is different than art as a something that's just going to have a right or wrong answer. Right. So we're looking at arts as being very adaptable and having many right answers. So we're not necessarily doing training so that each artist has the exact same skills and is able to kind of do the same thing with a camera. Rather, we're meeting everyone where they're at and really allowing for a platform for them to start expressing themselves. And that can look many different ways. It doesn't have to look a certain way. And that's what I think is really kind of made the archive and the portfolio of the Athens Photo Project very unique, because there's not many programs like this, especially in Appalachian, Ohio, that are providing this kind of platform. So as you probably know, the recovery model is asset-based, action-oriented, values community contribution and engagement, skill building, self-care. So these are all things that our staff and our artists on a day-to-day basis are looking at and working to integrate within our organization. There's a photo of Edie at one of our exhibitions at the Dairy Barn. So yeah, recovery, valuing social inclusion, but we look at like, what are the actions that we can take? What are the steps we can take to make that a reality? Recovery values rebuilding a meaningful life. What are the actions that we can take? How do we make that real? So our community exhibitions are a big part of that. The exhibitions include jury group shows, public art installations, commission projects, individual artist shows. This is our exhibit at the community mall, for those of you that haven't seen it. We've done commission work. This is a project we did for Appalachian Behavioral Health Care, where we created an art cart lending library for residents to have choice of what artwork went in their room. And it was all work created through a 30-week class. And the artwork includes artist statements and messages that our group created for the residents, long-term residents at ABH. This is an image of our studio on West Union Street in the healthcare corridor of Athens. Public art installations, we've done a lot with informal wheat pasting. This is a series of images from Chillicothe, from our summer teen program. So again, looking at changes of perceptions, addressing issues of stigma. We worked with the Juvenile Justice Court on this class and this exhibition and project, as well as with mental health providers, but it was a chance for youth to share their perspectives. And again, we're looking at individualizing the content and the imagery that comes out of this, rather than us as staff trying to have artists emulate what we want them to create or what we think they should as artists. It's really all about artistic freedom here. This is a wheat paste informal display technique that we used in Athens, uptown. And this exhibit space on the exterior of the parking garage really turned into a long-term, more permanent rotating exhibit space for us that many of you have probably seen. So what you're looking at in these slides is our public art installation titled 1,000 Words. So we've had some group shows there. This is work from our youth class. We're currently exhibiting work from 5 artists at a time in this display space. So addressing stigma in a really huge way downtown. So if we go back to those barriers, and after I share this, I'll kind of turn things over to Karen and Edie to share their work with the photo project. But if we go back to those barriers of isolation, feeling stigma, low self-esteem, etc., and contrast that within a short period of time, individuals exhibiting work, portfolios of work downtown Athens, and having accompanying statements. There's a major changes happening. And quite often what we hear from our community partners is in working with an individual, they see huge growth steps that a person was struggling with prior to having the arts and photography as part of their recovery. So this is really a value-added program. We're looking at how do we complement clinical services, how do we complement case management, et cetera. How do we complement Appalachian behavioral health care? So it's not offered in place of those. We work in close partnership with Hopewell Health Centers, where we have a clinical supervisor, so our staff have the support that they need to do this work. Install bay. Turn things over to you, Edie. I'll share a couple of your slides as you're speaking.
All right. My journey started about 5 years ago with APP. I had always had a love of art, and through the years I lost myself, but I never lost my love of art. So when I came to Athens, moved to Athens, I heard about APP through their marketplace that they had at the mall at the time. And I bought merchandise off of them and wanted to get involved in the program, but I lived out of town. So when I came to live here in Athens, I met with my psychiatrist, and he was like, knew my love of art and the fact that I had been a photographer years ago in Columbus, and he recommended APP. Well, I jumped at the opportunity because I didn't really have confidence in myself anymore. I felt like I was lost and never really get to be myself again. And so I got involved in it, and it really changed my world. I've become who I was, and maybe even more than what I used to be, because I have the confidence now that I don't have to cover up anything, that I express my work, and I feel blessed that I have the opportunity to do that. I feel blessed to be able to talk to people about it, to share my story with them, and so they know that they're not alone. And portraitures is my forte, and it shows in my work nowadays that this is my stronger suit. I always found photography difficult to do because I really never felt comfortable with myself. And so now I do photography and portraiture. And so I really have a love of it, and I hope it's reflected in my work. APP, Kim, I can't say enough for Kim, because she got me in the very beginning, and she really boosted my confidence level and gave me the opportunity to do my thing and not what I was told to do or expected to do. And so I look at these pictures, and this is one of them that was one of my first photos, and Kim really was such a support. And that's what I love about APP. They accept you for who you are and where you're at. And the program, I can't say enough about it. I really am blessed to be in it, still in it after all this time.
See, Edie, if you wouldn't mind sharing, what's your current role, or roles plural, with the photo project?
Okay, we have a co-op where students are put in, and as they're more advanced students, and they actually learn jobs in the photo related field, and they get paid for it, and so they become professional photographers or other aspects of photography. And so I'm on the council for the co-op. And then my real pride and joy is part of the teaching training program. And what that is they take APP artists and place them in the community to help other peers to get into the program. So they get a taste of it. Right now we're at ABH, and that's a 10-week work program. And this is finishing up the second time we've done it. And so it's that new of a program. And then also going to start a 6-week program. Or, yeah, excuse me, 10-week program. I'm sorry, I'm getting over COVID, so my head is kind of cloudy. I apologize to that. Is it going to be 10 weeks or 6 weeks, Nate, on the one coming up?
Yeah, we'll be starting some 6-week workshops that'll be kind of ongoing.
Okay, thank you, Nate. Sorry about that, folks. And so that's going to be starting up at the end of March. So that's really something to be really proud of and thankful to be part of it, because I think peer-to-peer really helps people feel comfortable in it, feel in their skin a lot sooner at times than what it is when you're talking to regular staff members. I know it was for me and other people I speak to. So I think this opportunity to have peer-led programming really helps.
Great. Thanks, Edie. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Renee. So I joined APP, I think it was back in 2009, and I had been recommended to come on from a counselor at the time. And I was a little hesitant at first. I had never heard of the group, and I'm not a big fan of group therapy as a role, but I have a background in art. So I think it's really what pulled me in. I'm like, okay, let's give it a try. And at the time, I was a new single parent. I was dealing with, had just been diagnosed with PTSD and all the anxiety and depression that came with it. So just trying to find a way to cope with that. And like I said, just the artistic aspect, I do believe spoke to me more than like traditional groups would. Sorry, give me a second.
Yeah.
But it's really been incredibly beneficial. Even though I was hesitant to start first, but as I got into the group and I met other people, peers who were going through some of the same experiences, and it's really easy to feel isolated and stigmatized when you are dealing with that kind of illness. Because in general, society doesn't always understand or welcome that. So to find a group that's welcoming and understanding and patient, and to have other people who are going through the same thing, you suddenly realize that you're not necessarily alone with these struggles. And that's really very beneficial, and it's probably underrated in the realm of recovery, is to meet other people who aren't that different, and suddenly you feel a little less monstrous and of an outsider when you realize, no, it's not just me going through this. And really, I think that's one of the wonderful things about this group, is that it gives you a safe outlet for expression that you might not have otherwise. I think art has its own language. It's different than, say, verbal language, for example. In my case with the PTSD, some things I wasn't ready to talk about necessarily, but I think over time it came out slowly through my artwork. It was just a safer way. It was just easy for me to communicate, more easy, I should say, to communicate that way than to try to describe all these experiences I had been through. And along the way, you find that connection to the community and the other peers, of course. I think the community is a big one again. Like I said, you do tend to feel like the outsider and you're in the margins a lot, and APP gives you those connections and the bridges that help you through the exhibitions and through all the public art and the things like that. They don't seem, I mean, huge, but I think everyone who's in the class, it really is, it's extremely important and beneficial. I can't say enough about that. And yeah. It's kind of, it did kind of help me get over that hump of, I can't talk about this, and then slowly but surely, and over time, my work evolved to try to bring awareness to these struggles and try to reduce the stigma through art, and hopefully in this way I can reach out to the community, and I also reach out to my peers and let them know that they're not alone either, because everyone's in a different spot in their recovery. We each have our own journey. So as I've gotten farther along, I finally felt comfortable to wrapping that back around and saying, okay, you're not alone. I've been through this too. How can we help you? And so that brings me on to now the training and teaching team. And I'm really honored to be here with everybody and to try to use my negative opportunities to help people and turn it into something positive, which I think is, it was worth it, I guess. We can say all the negatives. You turn to negative to positive. We're doing something useful. So, yeah. And all this artwork here was at the Sane Asylum in West Virginia, and I went down there for this project and just kind of went through the building and tried to connect their experiences to my experiences and put it forth to the community and just bring in awareness. So that's it. I talked too fast. I'm sorry.
That was great.